Good morning and welcome to the September 12th meeting of the Winnipeg Police Board. I am Councillor Marcus Chambers here with you today in the North Committee Room at City Hall. I'm joined by our Vice Chair, Colleen Mayer, our Board Member, Damon Johnson, Daphne Penrose, Diane Redsky, and Amit Kapoor. We're also joined by the Service Chief Gene Bowers, Deputy Chief Art Standard, Deputy Chief Scott Halley, and Deputy Chief Cam McKidd. And with us today also is Kim Nicholson from the Winnipeg Police Service. We're also joined by our Secretary to the Board, Jeff Wiggett. And welcome back, our Committee Clerk, Sherwood Armbruster. I'd like to welcome to our committee Amit Kapoor, a new board member, on his first public meeting. Welcome.
Thanks so much.
I would also like to start by acknowledging that we are gathered on Treaty 1 territory, the ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dene, and Dakota peoples, the birthplace of the Red River Métis Nation. Water that we drink is sourced from Shoal Lake 40, located in Treaty 3 territory. With that, I will turn it over to our clerk to start our delegations.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have one delegation. I believe he's attempting to join us, David Grant. He's joining via Zoom. He indicated he may have a bit of a lag with his equipment and technology at home. David, if you're there, I'd invite you to turn off your camera so you can join us more quickly, potentially. And if not, we may want to proceed and return once he's
give him a couple of seconds here to see if he's with us.
He's disappeared.
Okay, once he does come back, just let us know and we'll dive into our reports. The first report is the report of the chairperson, which is attached to online for those who are watching. On behalf of the Winnipeg Police Board, I would like to thank Mayor Scott Gillingham for serving on the board as a member from June 17th, 2025. Mayor Gillingham brought a unique perspective in it that he did not serve as the board chair. The bylaw of 148/2012 was amended in 2022 by council to allow Mayor Gillingham to be appointed to the board by council and in a capacity other than chair. Mayor Gillingham served as a board member since 2022. The board would also like to take the opportunity to welcome Amit Kapoor, who was appointed to the board on June 26, 2025, and Councillor Evan Duncan, who was appointed by council to the board on July 24, 2025. Amit is the owner of Capson Family Restaurants Limited and operates McDonald's franchises here in Winnipeg. Amit serves as a board member for Ronald McDonald House, the Young Presidents Association, the Manitoba Business Council, and the RBC Convention Center, where he is the financial chair. Councillor Evan Duncan was elected to Winnipeg City Council in 2022. He serves the residents of Charleswood, Tuxedo, and Westwood. Councillor Duncan brings over a decade of experience previously working with Manitoba Justice. This is the first public meeting for both Amit Kapoor and Councillor Duncan, and we look forward to working with you both. And on that note, I will need a motion to excuse Councillor Duncan, who is serving as Chair of Property Development in another room in City Hall. Colleen, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. So my report summarizes the events attended since the last public meeting of June 13, 2025. Along with board members hosted consultations in support of the 2026 to 2030 strategic plan for the Winnipeg Police Service with members of the organization geared to youth, culture, and education. We've also had various media interviews with the Winnipeg Free Press on the mayor's recommendation of Amit Kapoor for appointment to the Winnipeg Police Board. Again, on June 19th, along with board members, we hosted consultations for the 2026 to 2030 strategic plan. We had committee meetings throughout the spring and summer, including that on June 20th. And again on June 24th, along with board members, had a strategic planning session. On July 7th, the Secretary of the Board presented the WPS and the WPB, the quarterly budget reports to the Standing Policy Committee on Finance and Economic Development. I'm going to just gloss over a few of the events that I attended in the interest of brevity. Everything is listed there. I don't believe it has to be stated verbally, but for those of you that are watching online, you can see the activities of the board chair through to September 3rd. According to the Winnipeg Police Board Rules and Practice and Procedures, disclosure of a private meeting. If the board holds a special private meeting between regular board meetings, the chair must publicly report at the next regular board meeting. The fact of the holding and time of the private meeting and the general nature of the matter considered at the private meeting. The Committee of the Whole met privately on June 20th to discuss the police services multi-year operating budget estimates for 2026 to 2029. The capital budget estimates for 2026 to 2031, and the Winnipeg Police Board budget estimates for 2026 to 2029. According to the Winnipeg Police Board rules of practice and procedure, private meetings with the chief must to facilitate communication. The board, as a committee of a whole, must at a minimum meet quarterly in private with the police chief to ensure the common understanding of emerging or evolving issues, strategic issues, concerns, and direction of the roles and responsibilities of the board and the police chief in addressing such matters. The committee of a whole met privately on July 14th with Chief Bowers for the quarterly meeting. Per the City of Winnipeg Bylaw 148/2012, Section 29, the board shall provide a quarterly update of the board budget and the Winnipeg Police Service budget to the Standing Policy Committee on Finance for information. On July 7th, 2025, the 2025 first quarter budget update reports for the Winnipeg Police Service and the board were provided to the Standing Policy Committee on Finance and Economic Development. The board met virtually as a whole on August 26th to review the quarterly reports and the Winnipeg Police Service budget, business and audit plans, and the Winnipeg Police Service budget reports. So again, there is a lot that follows. I would ask those again online, if you are so inclined, to read the full report that is provided herewith. I would ask for a motion to accept the chair's report as information. Moved by Amit Kapoor. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. I've just received notice that Mr. Grant is online and we can go to him for his delegation.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Grant. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, just waiting for it to unmute. Thank you. Welcome to our new members and to the new chief. For several decades, I've been a vocal opponent of those who drive impaired. For decades, I've been a volunteer with Operation Red Nose since just after they started in Winnipeg. In 2024, I drove folks home safely on every evening that ORN operated. I have far more hours of experience with late night traffic in December than most folks. Too many impaired drivers self-identify by driving into parked cars and other stationary objects. For some years, more of them seem to do this than are identified by the big WPS check stops. I am disappointed that the internet has been reducing the effectiveness of your big check stop operations. I've long advocated, and I spoke here last year on the topic, trying to use a more agile approach. What I call an agile stop would only pull over a dozen or fewer cars, taking just a few minutes to divert them all. So the 10th car pulled over would just be a couple of minutes after the first one. This agile stop would quickly process them and move to a new location, hopefully less than 15 minutes later. Each agile stop team would visit many locations each night. This is a radical change from what's done now. It would defeat the internet systems that warn drivers, especially if there are 2 or more teams each night, because the teams wouldn't need that many officers. Impaired drivers with this system in place would no longer be able to avoid being caught. They now use internet means to avoid your big check stops. The impaired percent data that this process would generate would be a more accurate reflection of what's really in December traffic. And I employed WPS to try this in 2025. I think there's still time. Logistics are fairly straightforward. And I would invite anybody in the service to contact me, and I could have some input or whatever help with the setting this thing up. The other item of business I had is less consequential. Item 5 in the report, it says that I shouldn't use the information in report number 5. How else is the public to know or comment on this financial info? Since WPS tries valuably to be transparent and tries to share such info with the public, including all their financial data, I suggest that you require KPMG, if that's your contractor next time, to change its notes and restrictions. In the report, it says, our report is intended solely for the City of Winnipeg Police Commission, Police Board, and should not be used by any other party. And to me, that seems very wrong. It's interesting it took more than 8 months, but the report should not say that I can't read it. And that's perhaps a trivial loophole thing that they've thrown in, but it'd be nice if it wasn't there. But I would, here's my last few seconds to remind you that it would really be good for the impaired driving situation if we tried this radical approach of little small teams and use that means to defeat the internet cheaters. And thank you very much for your time, and invite any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Are there any questions of board members? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation this morning. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
So moving on, we have the report from the Chief of Police. I'll turn it over to Chief Bowers.
So I think I'll cover this in the plan instead of this portion. That's okay.
Yeah.
So just before we begin, I'd like to introduce a video that was produced by our PIO people in our regarding what it's going to depict is, you know, when people or when we go to calls for service, you often don't see what's happening behind the scenes. There's a lot of different units and departments that are doing work in behind the scenes, from staff, from different specialty units. So in a high risk event, we wanted to show how much resources are needed to support you know, what we're doing at that scene. So and often people, you know, the public doesn't see that. So we wanted to show that in a short video to the public. So I don't know, Art, if you
I don't think so. You see the cost of policing, but you don't really see what it produces, what it pays for. It just doesn't pay for the police cars in the street. It also pays for the people on the back end, like the mechanic, the caretakers, the comm center, the staff, professional staff, you name it. So I think this will capture all that and really put pictures to it.
Delta 333, we have definite shots coming at the back of the residence. Everyone in the back, check in right now. Are you good? Find out the numbers for the residents on either side of L1. Call them, please, and have them stay in their house. Appreciate it. Delta 305, this guy's actively shooting. The last shot came directly in our direction. Delta 307, we keep saying it looks like busting the young kids from the second floor window. It's going to be hard for anybody to get to that house, so we can try and find a number and call that house. Delta 305, 2 more shots fired. 307 copy, hit the wall over here. Hey, ARB1, I need real good coverage here. I'm going to be pulling 2 of our guys back here, okay? Copy that? ARB1, copy. Stay behind that tree. When I say go, I want you to retreat back to me. You're going to turn and run when I give you the go. I want you to haul ass back to me. Copy that?
Shots began to ring out, and immediately the radio just started to erupt. One aspect that haunts me still is that we didn't know at that time if anyone had been shot, if one of our members had been shot, a member of the public had been shot. This magnitude of event, what's referred to as an active shooter, that was a real true first one that we'd experienced in the city.
We had units from all over the city and every division on that call. It was nearing 100 officers. The supervisor started voicing each officer by name to make sure that they were okay after the gunfire. No one was breathing until there was that response, like, please answer, please answer.
The main player in these situations is what we call the command triangle. So we have the critical incident commander, who oversees all operations, but then part of the command triangle is the crisis negotiator lead, as well as the tactical support team lead. And then there is a whole bunch of supports in behind that command triangle to make things as smooth as possible. And of course, our goal is always to resolve things peacefully.
Officers came up over the air. It escalated extremely quickly, and it really never slowed down. They're in the most stressful situation of their lives. It was 12:40. It's lunchtime. Is there kids that go home for school or people going home from work? Just a dangerous time.
We had some officers that were trying to shield themselves from the gunfire behind trees, vehicles. There was a lot of radio transmissions going on. Our members put themselves in a lot of dangerous situations that day to ensure that the public was removed.
In this case, we had a school not that far away. You can imagine the amount of resources that would have to be brought into this, because you could never expose any of the people inside that school to potential gunfire. So it would be a coordinated effort using school resource officers, general patrol officers, whoever's available, traffic, to coordinate something like that.
You have members of the public that are phoning and they're worried. You have schools calling, daycares, people that are hunkered down in their basement. Fear that they have, it's real. I just can't even imagine that happening right around your house.
That individual was shooting out of multiple windows from multiple heights. While I would have appreciated more intelligence that we could have received from Air One, it was too volatile. We have additional capabilities now through the use of drone and so forth that we definitely would have applied that day had we had it.
About 2020, 2021, the drone unit came into play and is an absolute game-changing unit. We now have the ability to insert something with eyes and ears into a very tight environment.
His rate of firing was so indiscriminate, hitting cruiser cars, hitting the ARV, hitting buildings, everything out of every potential access point in that structure at the time.
In this particular situation, because of the scope, we had to call in off-duty members. A typical team within the tactical support unit is 9 members. In a situation like this, we're talking 20 plus members, because we have to have coverage to respond to whatever may happen on any side of the structure. We also need to have other teams, such as gas teams. We need to have an immediate response team, is called. So if something begins to escalate, we have support from our bomb unit, who can provide a tactic called explosive forced entry, who can very quickly breach a door through the use of controlled explosives.
There's a lot of different arms of the service that had to become involved. Even a minor role was extremely important that day, because every little thing could have impacted something greater.
We have general patrol, who are typically used on the perimeter. We have people that operate the truck that come in. We have people from an intelligence background, so they can tell us, who is this person? Who are we dealing with here? The Public Information Office, so we can spread messaging to the public to stay out of the area. We also have scribes that come in, and then we also have logistics people, because we have to remember that the people on the front lines, they have needs in terms of breaks, they have needs in terms of hydration and food and all of these different things that have to be considered. And then we actually have someone who is running the truck itself in terms of keeping generators going, troubleshooting any issues on the vehicle. whether it's IT, connection issues. We might even bring in mental health professionals who can come and assist with themes. There is a lot of players that come to these scenes and a lot of training behind all of those separate units.
The communication center personnel who are doing a fantastic job. You know, they're behind a computer and a desk hearing gunshots, not knowing what's going on. That's hard on them. Plus now trying to keep a calm voice.
Mentally, I was there with them. I got to tune everything else out and just help them with what they have going on. You want everybody to go home to their families at the end of the day. There was one officer that didn't answer. And I had dreams about that after. His name, them calling his last name and him not answering. And I thought for sure that he had been shot and that's why he wasn't answering. We found out a TAC member had been pulling him back to safety at that time, but they answered for him after. And it was such a relief, like you have no idea. I was just breathing. I was worried about them.
By the grace of God that day, no one was hurt or killed. We were astounded.
It's truly a miracle that everybody made it out alive that was on that call.
Even with him being in handcuffs, that's just one part, and the job's truly not over just yet.
So in this specific case, had expended cartridge casings, DNA swabs, bullet impact points. You end up with hundreds and hundreds of exhibits. To be photographed, given an exhibit number, cataloged. It can take over 100 hours. The TAC vehicle had several bullet impacts on it. Behind the house was a cruiser car peppered with bullet impacts. There was a house down the street that also had bullet impacts in it. There was a vehicle in front of the house. Their vehicle had also been hit by bullet impacts. It was an entire square city block that had to be shut down, had to be guarded by scene guards. There was a lot going on in that crime scene.
The effect of one of these large-scale incidents, if they carry on for a prolonged period of time, can literally be weeks. On a typical day, we have 100, 150 calls in the queue. By the time that an incident like this is over, you may have 250 calls stacked in the queue because of this incident.
A lot of these events draw a lot on our resources, and a lot of them occur simultaneously. It's a busy climate in the city. While we do our very best at making it work, it's very challenging.
We're quietly doing our work behind the scenes. We collect a whole bunch of evidence, but we bring it back to the lab to be properly documented for continuity. They need to be examined. Sometimes that can take weeks and months. I don't think a lot of people, including police officers, can see the interconnectedness, like a fishnet of every unit is important. That each one of those parts has the resources they need in order to function well, in order to keep the police service working properly.
From all of the specialty units, it's one of those things where it's 99% training and it's 1% action. This is go time. This is when things are getting real. They carry the most liability, the most danger to our members, to the public, to the suspect themselves. When they do happen, it's everyone on board.
When you apply for a job like this, it's not just about you, it's how you contribute to this team and how you take care of people.
You only become better through an event like this, and you're honest with yourself and you say, where could we do better? I'm very confident that based on how our members have trained, how they have now learned from these experiences, they have prevented and minimized people's ability to start doing those actions again.
Expertise comes from seeing and being exposed to different techniques and situations and court testimony. And you can't place a value on that. The expertise grows year after year after year. There's more and more violent calls more often. So we're on standby every night. It's very rare that I would go a whole week without getting called out at least once. We've missed birthdays, Christmas, New Year's, anniversaries. I've missed it all over 25 years.
Yes, it's a paid profession, but that doesn't sort of mitigate or minimize the fact that they're still human beings. Our behavioral health, they do a fantastic job, but they have a lot of responsibility because they now have to make sure our members are in a good place mentally, physically, everything to come back to work and then be effective. There's an impact at home on their children, on their families.
Because we're down in the gore of physical scenes, there's a price that comes with that. The behavioral health unit has been invaluable to me personally. They've allowed me to have the tools to deal with the difficult things that we see so that I don't walk with a mental limp for the rest of my life.
Good leaders care about people more than anything else. 2 months after, it was a really big operational debrief. I also went to the psychological debrief. And I'm sitting in a room full of officers, and an officer from the other side of the table stood up and came and said, "We care about you too," and she gave me a hug. 7 years later, it's still such a reminder of how worried we were for them and the public that day. I'll always be grateful that everybody went home to their families that day.
Utilizing all the different skill sets our service had, that was an absolute collective that came together that day, as selflessly, to be honest. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, so when people think the event's over just because the gunshot stops or he's now in handcuffs, it's not. There is a tremendous amount of resources used in the background, and will that incur a financial impact? Yes. But at the end of the day, the human impact is far more important.
Wow. Thank you.
Yes.
Really, no, sure.
Thanks for that presentation. Certainly, Hollywood doesn't capture a lot of what people see on TV in terms of the background that goes into supporting incidents like this. So thank you for this presentation. It's really eye-opening.
For the content, we had 2 of them yesterday. The 2 armed barricades yesterday. Not to that level, of course, but same kind of incident where there's danger and stuff.
Where were they?
They're both and north.
So in a situation like this where the PIO has produced this document, would you make it publicly available for people to see so they get a better understanding of what police go through on a high critical incident such as this?
Yeah, and I think the plan is to probably put it on our website for people to, they can go to and see it and watch it.
So,
that was very impactful. I think that in the course of the general public's day-to-day activities, we hear snippets on the news, we read about, a little bit in the paper, and we move on with our lives. And we might hear again at the 6 o'clock news, but the magnitude of what just one case does to a community, and that's the public community, at large, that's your community, and how widespread it is cannot be not recognized when you watch this. So I also do want to commend all of you everyone who was part of this project, because the vulnerability to talk about that and put yourselves out there, not all good people are going to be watching that, right? And that's a vulnerable state for you guys to be in, and you're in that every day, but this really sheds some light on it. So I just want to commend you for doing that. I want to thank you, and I hope that the public, when it becomes available, will take that moment to watch, recognize when things in our lives get to us, like someone stole my bike, that's impactful for everyone. But in this case, this is where our resources are going. This is what you're doing all the time. And sometimes they may not get the full response they need because stuff like this happens every day for you guys. And that doesn't mean that they don't deserve to have the service. It just means sometimes in our world, there are bigger things going on. So thank you for that.
one of the things that, again, this video has impacted on me is the mental health side of it. I know that, oftentimes people comment on my roles and evenings and weekends, attending different events and whatnot. Counselor, you must have a very busy life. When I look at this video and I see, the officer was talking about the time away from family and the impacts, you know, for the call taker, that worrying about an officer in a high critical incident like this, it really impacts me on the mental health side of it. What officers go through on a daily basis and the debriefing and whatnot. The time away from family, which is, I mean, it's critically important. So this is important for the public to see and understand what the service goes through, what the members go through, and the fact that, again, it was mentioned, we're human. We're human. It's important for people to see and understand the impacts of daily life of a police officer. So again, thank you. This is a brilliant presentation. Diane?
So, thank you for it. I have some different feelings about it. One of the areas that I wish I would have seen more in this is the relationship between the people impacted by the violence and the police. So what happens in that, what is the support provided by the community and how the police do that? So if we were to take in that situation. So that's what if we can enhance it, I think that that's important, that this is the law and order side of things. But there's more that you do. So I feel that it's a missing piece in the video of the work that goes into interviewing people that have been impacted by the violence and, you know, the relationships that are built with people impacted by the violence. So, you know, somebody going door to door in the video would have been nice to see.
So, yeah, the schools,
Yeah.
we attended the schools that day with the kids and stuff.
And I think I would also suggest that we already experience stereotypes of Indigenous people living in the North End or the North End being super bad. You know, this can happen anywhere in Winnipeg. And I would suggest that we look at how, like, to, you know, take the North End, that identifying information off. Because I think it reinforces some harmful stereotypes that not helpful to what we're trying to achieve. Appreciate that.
Continue on, Chief.
You know, just when I was acting chief, we had lots of discussions and heated moments about different things that you agree to, like through the budget in regards to the armored vehicle, airline and stuff like that. And I know we had lots of discussions and you always approve those for us. And you see the benefit. And you know, sometimes you can't capture what piece of equipment means. People see it as, oh, it's just a big truck, shiny truck. No, that truck took some big hits in this one. And I'm sure people are behind that big truck and airline and everything plays a part. So we have to thank you as well for supporting us through the budget on those things. So.
There was a comment about Superintendent Mill made about the drone, that it was a game changer. Are the use of drones more, are you deploying the use of drones more?
Yes, we have a couple of units that members who are trained with the drones that have them in their cruiser cars and deploy them on call. So definitely we're using them more and the different types of drones, like the ones that you can put into a building, eyes and ears, things you can talk to people inside. Very, you know, reduces the danger for the person inside and for our members. So definitely drones are definitely on the forefront. And as technology goes on, we're definitely watching to see, you know, where we can take that.
Any other questions?
Last one around the cost of the production of this video. Was that done externally?
You know, what was done by our members. Yeah, there is no external cost. Just the time.
Continue.
Okay, I think I'll just maybe in the chief's report, I want to highlight something before I go to the other report. But Community engagement, so as we're all aware, we had a media release regarding the hiring of an external Indigenous relations advisor. So Sheila North is now working as a consultant for us, and I was at the AFN conference with her, and man, she knows a lot of people. She's highly respected in the community. And I think it's gonna take us a long ways towards reconciliation and taking significant steps towards that goal. So so far, there's a lot, we've had some initial discussions about what our path is moving forward. I think it's very encouraging. So I just wanted to mention that's part of the community engagement. Further to that, I've during this last quarter, I was at 27 different events, engaging with community members and various organizations. It's been very helpful for me to make those contacts and to learn about the different organizations that we're partnering with, or we're helping in some way. So been very busy on that front. So I wanted to bring that up.
Chief, you served as deputy chief for a period of time with the service and likely attended different events. Does it take on a different tone as chief?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Everybody wants you here, and you're being pulled in different directions because everybody wants people at a meeting want police presence in their communities and to work with us. So it's definitely different from my previous position.
I had lots of hair before I became master.
Yeah.
Well, Mother Nature gave us the same hair design.
So I think I'll leave the rest for the other part. So I don't know if you want me to go into that now or.
No, yeah, please focus.
So Mr. Grant mentioned some traffic things. So I'm gonna just highlight some of our traffic initiatives. So the service is really being, as far as traffic goes, concentrating on road safety, and speed is a big part of road safety. So we've concentrated on the speed because that results in death and serious injury. So our traffic enforcement speeding offenses for Q2 were 3,815. That's the highest we ever had in a quarter. Very significant. The leadership there has been doing a really good job. And those are speeding offenses, just speeding offenses. And then distracted driving as well has been on top of our mind. So 895 offense notices for distracted driving. And again, that's the highest quarter we've ever had. So I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention that we are paying attention to those issues. I'm going to move on to
before you do, I can provide a comment. So thank you with respect to traffic enforcement. As a city councillor, that's something that I received requests or emails on or social media tags with regards to speed in different areas throughout my ward and throughout the city, quite frankly. It should be noted, earlier this week, Councillor Lukes and I participated in Rail Safety Week with the CN Police Inspector, former WPS Inspector Dudek, is now with the CN Police, and talked about some of the infractions that they experience in terms of railway crossing. A $900 fine for going through a barricade when the arms are down and the train is coming. So again, they have video footage of individuals that are committing these offenses and actually hitting trains, thinking they have enough time to get through a train crossing. So traffic safety is important. Councillor Lukes and I think it was a good fit in, me being chair of the police board and her being chair of public works, where road design is certainly a factor in terms of people's speed and their ability to drive safely. But recognizing the importance of rail safety in the city of Winnipeg. And then again, you speaking specifically to traffic safety and traffic enforcement. Distracted driving and impaired driving are two of the big things in our city. And, you know, from time to time, I'm driving down the street, whether it's at a red light, I'm seeing people on their cell phones or actually driving and holding their handheld device in their hand as they're driving and speaking. You know, in the role that I have, I'm a very busy person, but never pick up my phone when it rings in my car. It is wired through Bluetooth. I have the ability to press a button and speak. Same with text messages. They come up, they are read to me, and I can verbally repeat back, and it sends off the message. But again, distracted driving has no place on our city streets. And thank you for the diligence in terms of traffic safety for Winnipeggers.
Actually, before I move on, I believe we have to accept the chief's report because I moved on.
Okay. Yep, Colleen.
So I apologize that I wasn't able to be there earlier this month when you welcomed Sheila North as your new partner with the service. I think that her leadership and the work that she brings across not only the city, the province, Canada, I think will serve well. So I look forward to hearing more about the work that you guys are going to be doing together, what impacts are being made. So through you, if you wouldn't mind sharing a welcome on my behalf and thank you for that information. Can you just talk about you had in your crime prevention and public safety, you talked about SROs between July 1st and August. What was that exactly? It's page 9, top of page 9. Excuse me. Was there training? Was there connection? What was that?
So we're not thinking summer. Schools are for the summer.
Yeah.
We have to utilize them in different ways. So some of them do training. Of course, annually as well, but they do work with the group, with the culture service, and address the backlog and stuff like that. For the 2-month period.
Yeah.
Right until mid-August and then to get back into the schools. So that's what I meant.
Yeah, thanks. Just clarity.
Yeah, I'll definitely get into a little bit on the Osborne Village project that they've assisted in as well. So but, I'm gonna go into the.
We'll need a motion to accept the chief's report as information. Thank you, Damon. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. We proceed. Oh, next item is Secretary of the Board. If you
Sure. So my written report is attached to the agenda. There's a listing of some of the activities that board staff undertook over this reporting period. I don't intend to read them out. They are there and part of the record. A bulk of the time of board staff over the last 3 months is going to be reflected in items further down the agenda. So we can address any specifics there. I'll say some very positive opportunities over the last few months to meet with some partners to sort of have some discussions on what business relationships look like, for instance, between the board and Manitoba Justice officials, the Police Association, city administration. And so some productive conversations coming out of there to help inform some of the work that the board has directed. In terms of activities to meet the statutory requirements of the board, July 7th, I reported the first quarter 2025 budget update to the City Standing Policy Committee on Finance and Economic Development. And then a great deal of time has been spent on the strategic planning process, engaging with the community, hosting events, reviewing the hundreds of submissions that we've received to inform the development of that plan.
So Jeff, you and I attended the Canadian Association of Police Governance Conference in Victoria, BC earlier in August. Can you just report on that? It's in tandem with the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, which is usually the same week. Can you just provide some highlights out of that conference?
Yeah, so the theme of it was titled Navigating Challenging Times. There was a series of really informative seminars and presentations from police board members, board staff, and police service staff from across the country on some of the current challenges they face. Some really helpful and informative discussions, the recordings of which have been shared with the whole board on the relationship between the board and the police chief and the police service on the strategic planning process, on a lot of the topics that are live to the board. Really good opportunity to hear from counterpart jurisdictions to learn some best practices as we work towards a review of how to best utilize the sort of governing policies as they're written, but also look for opportunities where they may be enhanced to help the board carry out its mandates.
And included in that AGM, conference, Deputy Chief Scott Halley was a panelist and presented on an aspect of policing. It was also, as I mentioned, the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police meeting was happening. It was preceding CAPG. Sorry to put you on the spot. Could you just give a highlight of the presentation and your experience at CAPG and CACP this summer?
Sure, yeah. No, the CAPG conference, that's the first time I participated in the entirety of it, and I thought it was very interesting, very informative. I was kind of focused on the panel that I was doing. It was with the Deputy Chief of Edmonton, Warren Dreichel, and the Deputy of Vancouver, Chow. And he's a Chief Superintendent from Toronto. And it was about public order units. So talking about the increase in protests across the nation and the tactics that are being used and constantly evolving in protests and the increasing demands on police resources to ensure the safety of those in attendance at the conference or at the at protests and demonstrations. So it was informative to see the from BC to Alberta to Manitoba to Toronto, Southern Ontario area, just to see the challenges are all very similar to police agencies all across the country. We're all experiencing the same thing. I thought the panel went okay, but I was on the panel, so it's all a little bit of a blur to me about what was happening. The rest of the conference I thought was very informative though, because I mean, police governance is something we experience here in Winnipeg, but not necessarily something I've experienced through the board chair of Victoria, the board chair of Vancouver, in Calgary. The CACP conference itself was a similar type of theme. I don't recall exactly what the theme was, but it was really talking really at the global level of pressures on policing across the world, and the similarities there were very informative and interesting. There was an individual who spoke on the conflict in the Middle East, speaking. It was an English gentleman. The perspective from people that live in the region and the diaspora across the world. One thing he did say that I found was rather alarming to me is he stated that he believes there will be peace in the Middle East in our lifetime. However, peace across the globe through the diaspora will never be achieved, because whatever peace transpires in the Middle East will not satisfy individuals who have left the Middle East. And that I found that very alarming to me, because it means that the continued conflicts across the globe will persist for the rest of our careers and the rest of our lives. So there was many different speakers that I thought were very, very informative, but that was the one that really stood out for me. I can sum it up in a nutshell for you.
Thank you, and thank you for again being on the spot. So appreciate that. Okay, I need a motion to accept, unless there are any other questions, I'll accept a motion to accept the board secretary's report. Colleen, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. On to item 4. Report is the strategic planning steering committee. So would you like to take that, Jeff, or can I send it over to the chair or subcommittee chair, Daphne Penrose? Daphne?
Sure, happy to take it. In terms of an update on the community engagement process the board undertook over the spring and summer months, roundtable discussions with stakeholder groups June 12th, June 16th, June 19th, June 24th, July 14th, July 15th. as well as 2 open house public sessions. We had an online survey up on our website until August 31st to capture feedback from the community. We had over 300 responses to that, as well as of today, we've received about a dozen lengthy written submissions in response to the questions that the board posed to any individuals or organizations or community leaders with respect to their needs, values, expectations for policing. The Strategic Planning Committee is convening a meeting next week to review that feedback that the community has provided and work towards identifying a set of objectives and priorities to craft into a strategic plan. We are on pace, in my eyes, to publish that by the end of the year, as we've committed to. And there are some continuing efforts to engage with some groups where schedules have just conflicted or we weren't able to get to over the summer. Understandable. That's the report in a nutshell. I will say, from my view, really happy with the level of engagement, both the quantity and the quality of thought and time and effort that those who attended our events or sent to us feedback in writing have provided. Very helpful in terms of formulating a set of strategies and priorities and objectives that work for the entire community.
Right. Anything to add?
Yeah, our roundtables have been very successful. The engagement has been amazing. Particularly surprised and grateful to organizations who submitted written submissions, and the thought and time that have been put into those is really, really good. And some of the responses we got are extremely informative. The 300 plus web surveys also were really good. We still do have some, like Jeff was saying, some groups to reach out to and to fulfill that. Just time, our schedules just didn't seem to mesh. So we are going to continue to attempt that while continuing to move on with the survey. So yeah, it's been a very good opportunity to engage with the public and be able to really make sure that the information that we come up with in the strategic plan that we develop is reflective of what the community is indicating their needs and thoughts are. So that's been a good experience.
Thank you. Any questions, board members? Damon, please.
So much a question, but maybe a little broader focus in terms of service and the challenges it's facing, and part of those historically we got a long history of, I think, my own personal opinion, neglect. Neglected people in this country. This new statistics tell us Manitoba has the deepest rates of poverty in the country. And we experience the deepest part of it. Also, the service is like all of us, to some degree, a victim of poor legislation, poor policy. When it comes to Indigenous peoples, particularly at the federal government level. But we're in the good side of the news is that things are starting to happen that may, I say maybe because you don't know, may lead us to a better place overall. This week, thanks to Councillor Santos, I was invited to meet with a band counselor of the Norway House Band and 2 of his senior staff people. It's the first time in my whole time in Winnipeg that I've been able to do that. And it was very eye-opening for me. So many of you will know that the one thing the federal government has done that is proving to be helpful is the introduction of what they call the distinctions-based approach, which in real time recognizes the rights holders in the Constitution of Canada. And in the language of the Constitution, it's still First Nation, or it's still Indian, Métis, and Inuit. But First Nations now references First Nations, and we all give them that recognition. So this meeting was very informative in the sense that the Norway House Band claims to be either the first or second largest band in Manitoba. And they have a significant population of their members in Winnipeg. And they came to us, the urban group, to ask us to help them. They want to slowly and steadily improve the supports they provide to their members' officers. And they're not the only band doing this. Vegas is also claims to be the largest band, and they are focusing on the same issues. Now, coming back to what I said earlier about legislation and policy, this city and this province historically have been also victims of poor federal to urban indigenous situation. Manitoba is and now is home to one of every 7 indigenous persons in the country. So this is ground zero. And if we adopt, I think, the proper attitude and approach to working with indigenous leaders and communities, then there is hope. There is hope for over some time a much better situation in Winnipeg and Manitoba. Because the solutions that we've developed, the urban communities, over 70 years, many of them are working, but there's no scale. And the federal attention to urban indigenous, over 80% now of all indigenous persons who live off reserve, is not where it needs to be, not even close. And so to finish off, we just had a federal evaluation report on their main urban program, which is called Urban Programming for Indigenous Peoples, UPIP for short. The evaluation is completed. I have the report on my computer, and they heard us. They heard the urban groups and what we were asking them to do. So we asked them to look at reinstituting a national urban indigenous strategy and to co-develop it with us. And it needs to include First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. And we have to work at closing the divide between not only us and other Canadians, but for divide between urban First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. And we have some ideas about how to do that. The creation of the Winnipeg Indigenous Executive Circle, Ruger Service will meet with next week. 30 Indigenous charitable not-for-profit organizations under one roof is really another critical, powerful step in the organization of Indigenous communities. Because again, if you truly understand the history of Canada, our collectivity was attacked by the Indian Act. The 640 bands that exist today are not the original governance structures of Indigenous people. And we don't use the term tribes very much in Canada. They do in the United States. But it is an English word that has some application in terms of some of our historic structure as larger groups. So again, I'm a member of the Anishinaabe Nation, Anishinaabe people, in English, the Ojibwe, and we are in numbers the second largest group of Indigenous peoples in Canada. The Cree Indian are the largest. So these are the facts and understandings that Canadians at some point need as a whole to have better appreciation and understanding of if we are to have better relationship. And we're working at it. I think we're on a better path now, but this hopefully decision of coming of the government and replace the UPIP with the National Urban Indigenous Strategy, I think is most important to cities like Winnipeg and provinces like Manitoba because of the size of our population. It's also reinforced that we have the fastest growing population, the highest birth rate. We have the highest number of single parent moms. and something single parent fathers as well. And we know the struggles of these families because we deal with them every day. And of course, you know, we have the highest rates of homelessness, which is challenging this city every day. So I'll stop there and just hope that through a better engagement process between the city and ourselves, that will include the province and the federal government in an improved structure over time through this kind of dialogue, will in the end help the service to play its role more effectively in this city and other services in this province and in time the country. Because if you don't understand the historical implications and impacts of federal legislation and policy on our people as a whole, we will never be able to change it. Because it's a horrible story in a way. The truth is, we have people dying on the streets of this city every day who don't deserve to get that. But through that historical trauma of everything, we are. And that's never been addressed in an effective way. Just had another report just this last week about the health of Indigenous Canadians and the systemic racism within the health system. Real and valid. And it's really important right now because of the growing right-wing, far right-wing neo-Nazi movement in the United States and Canada. And that was in the news this week. So, and just yesterday, this weekend, and I don't know what motivated, but I pulled up to Henderson Highway from Valhalla Drive, and I seen two non-Indigenous people walking on the sidewalk, and I was waiting to pull her into the traffic, so I kind of blocked the sidewalk a little bit, and the guy came around, went around in front of the car, and I said, "That's not the safe thing to do," or whatever. And he got angry with me, and he punched my car. Now, what motivated that? You know what I mean? So, you know, we can sometimes as societies be blind to important things that are happening that we don't really understand or appreciate. And then we fail to address them early enough, and then we pay the price later. And that's what's happened now. The people of our people and the gangs, drugs, trafficking, you name it, it's all coming out of that trauma. And last thing, a famous doctor who worked on the downtown east side, Dr. Gabor Mate, we just interviewed by CBC. He says Canada as a society has no clue about trauma and the effects it has on human beings. Thank you for hearing me out. I'm just hoping my last couple of years working and hoping to change my life at the end of next March. But I won't stop. I will continue to volunteer in the community because we have to do that. Those of us who are somewhat healthy. You know, I told you before, I'm a sexually abused child. The evidence has just come out that male persons who are being sexually abused have the highest rates of heart disease in the world. And I have that right now. And I also have diabetes, but it's hereditary. Many of our kids now. Just to sit here today, being somewhat healthy, surprises me, and but also makes me happy because I worked hard to try to get the honors just to that. Thank
you. Thank you. Damon, I appreciate your comments, and when you decide to retire, I will be seeking out, listening to your advice and your storytelling and influencing decisions across this beautiful city and province. So thank you for that. Sorry, Mr. Clerk, where were we here?
Yes, we're still on item 4, report from the Strategic Planning Steering Committee, which is there for information.
Yeah, is there anything else anyone would like to say? Okay, so we can carry on to item number 5.
Just need a mover for item 4.
Sorry. When you throw me in and in the middle, I get lost. We need a mover to move, receive this information as, this report as information. Amit? All in favor? Carried. Mr. Chair, you can graciously have a seat back.
Item 5, Winnipeg Police Service 2024 Statement of Revenue and Expenses.
So this is an independent audit that is conducted of the year-end financials, revenues and expenses for the police service. This is a requirement of provincial policy as well as the City of Winnipeg bylaw that established the board. So this is conducted, like I said, by an outside auditing firm on a yearly basis, and then the board takes it and presents it here publicly to fulfill the transparency objective. Will move on to the City Standing Policy Committee on Community Services, I believe, to further help City Council and inform them to conduct their role in establishing the police services total budget.
Any questions, board members? Seeing none? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Wait, questions on the budget?
This is the audited report.
Right, perfect. Can I just ask a question? I know this is the overtime piece, and I've always, like, as a public, I've always wondered as to why the overtime cost is so high, right? And I'm sure that you have very smart people who actually look into the fact as to what the cost to benefit ratio is, hiring a person versus basically giving overtimes. As a business person, that's the first thing I look at, what my overtime is and how I can change that and maybe hire people. And maybe there's a benefit ratio, which, giving out benefits across to new recruits. But is that something which you guys have looked into, hiring more people rather than giving out overtime? Is that a fair question to ask out here? Like, I don't know. So,
Well, we're not there yet.
Oh,
This
we're
is
not
the
there.
police board, but
No,
audit.
this is the services budget for 24.
okay. So,
On number 7.
Number 7 will be the update for the second quarter of 25, but this is a question with respect to the
okay, I'll leave it for that.
overtime expenses occurred last fiscal.
Right, okay.
So I do need a motion to accept. item-
Maybe I'll start and then throw it over to the chief and the deputy. So with respect to the use of overtime, it's continuing overtime. So it's not as simple as it's more people who would reduce the impact on overtime. Sometimes it is it's a requirement for people to continue while they're in the midst of an investigation. But it is something that is monitored and managed by the service, and we have a very fulsome overtime reporting. All of the commanders will come and meet with the executive team and speak to what is occurring and what is happening with respect to the use of overtime across the service. And while it looks like it is a very large number, it is much less than it would be if we were to hire the number of people that would be required to carry out some functions 24/7. Because some areas are not 24/7, but they may need to be called out in the middle of the night because of something that has occurred. So maybe I'll just throw it over to the chief to see if he'd like to add anything to that.
Well, definitely, we watch our overtime very closely, and it actually has been heading down. Again, it's dependent on how busy calls like we depicted here in the video, how many of those incidents occur. As you can see, at these high violent incidents, you can't just pull people out and send them home. They have to stay for the most part. So it's definitely something that we look at. I think we recently got 36 more resources. Thank you for that, to ensure that we can answer to the calls for service. And again, could we use more? Another 36 would definitely help us deliver the service to the public that the public expects, to have those extra resources. But again, we do track that. So to your question, yes, more resources. Would it have an impact on overtime? Potentially, but in certain cases, no, because of the overtime that's occurring because of the ongoing incidents.
One other example I could give you, is for overtime, for example. So if our members get subpoenaed to courts, we're legally obligated to go to court. So whenever the subpoena comes in, our members, depending on what shift they're working, if they're working overtime, we really have zero control over that. Although we do have very good processes in place to ensure that if members aren't required for court, they're canceled in advance of the court case, so they won't attend and have to get paid for the overtime.
You guys might have already looked into it, but cadets is part of your service. Like, would beefing up cadets, kind of solve some of the issues here? Like, definitely to the lower priority, guarding scenes, things like that, where we don't have to have officers there. We deploy the cadets so the officers could go back on the road or do the investigation piece. So the cadets is definitely does help. There's certain restrictions on those cadets based on the WPA, the contract. They can only do so many certain things within our mandate. So they definitely do help reduce those costs, and they're a great support. It's been a fantastic program. We do get a lot of different police agencies from across the country ask about our cadet program.
Okay, I think I can, one example of what you just mentioned is, we usually hire our recruit classes up to the complement. Let's say it's 14.1, we usually hire 14.1, even though throughout the year, we're going to have retirements, which will cost over time to staff the cars. What we've done in the last couple of years, we're hiring 14, 45 extra people. We take the actual initial cost of hiring them at that time, but pays off throughout the year because they will cover off their retirements and stuff that right in their overtime. So I think we're doing a little bit of what you just mentioned about do we hire more resources to cover off overtime, and that's one of the ways we do it now. We don't hire to complement for. We always take a chance to hire a few more, knowing that throughout the year there's gonna be retirements. Prior to that, we should staff the retirements through overtime. And now we don't. Now we have some extra people that we can staff.
And honestly, Cadet is a wonderful program, and I think it's exclusive to us, right? But you say you work within that framework of what the cadet basically agreements are. Like, is it a review of those agreements? Not since you've had the service for such a long time, that maybe it can be broader. I'm just trying to see that if there's any way. It's bargaining. They're bargaining with the union. Right. We have bargain extra duties for them, I think, in the past, and definitely, if we do want to use them for different deployment, we'd have to bargain.
Okay. I might just add a comment just from the investigative side. It's an excellent question. From the investigative side, which I oversee, a lot of the overtime is unavoidable in that there might be a child death late at night, so our investigators have to come out. There might be a homicide late at night, our investigators have to come out. So a lot of it's very specialized, but we do have a reporting structure within each unit to monitor overtime, and those inspectors report to us as an executive every month. So we're looking for aberrations and things that they'll explain things. If it's high here, they'll explain why it's high. So there is that accountability. In some of the investigative units, though, as well, there's like organized crime unit, for example, there might be lengthy projects that are very expensive. We do look at ways to recover those costs if we can join with a different agency, for instance, the RCMP or with Brandon Police Service. We do that quite often, and we're able to recover those costs from the province by submitting requests for funding from the province. So we're always alive to that, and when these projects get expensive and they go beyond the perimeter highway, we do look to partner with other agencies to recover that.
Cadets are every round of bargaining, we try to add more duties to cadets. The union is very protective because it's kind of a two-tier policing type of model, so they're very protective of what they can do. But every time we have contract discussions, we try to open up more for them to do. Our challenge with cadets, they're young, they're vibrant, they want to go ahead. So the turnaround with cadets is overwhelming. Really, we hire a class at 35, 39, 40, 20 of them come on in a year or two. They go, they want to go to, you know, law enforcement or wherever they want to go. Yeah, so we have a real challenge with turnover incidents, you know.
Colleen?
Just a takeaway, and maybe you can get back to us on it. So I don't expect you to have the answer. But I was looking at page 7 of the audit report under benefits, sick leave and severance pay. There's quite a substantial difference year over year on that. Can you explain to us on the next, not today? No, exactly. So I don't expect an answer today, but it's something that jumped out at me, and I was curious why there was, you know, almost $1 million in difference there, so.
Maybe we should move into the, we have our acting director of finance here to give the report.
I don't need the answer today. I'm just putting it so I don't forget to ask, because I forgot before.
We'll get back to the board.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, I do you need a motion to accept this as information? For approval?
Just that next question before we do that.
Okay,
The submission from David Grant. So if we could take that offline to like one of our board meetings, I'd just like to understand why that can't happen.
So I can answer quickly here. The intended use that section refers to is the use of the board to present it and share it publicly for public consumption. So it's a sort of odd wording to get there, and I can speak with the auditors at the next cycle of what that looks like. But when it speaks about not using it for any other purpose, the purpose is here to present it and share it publicly in full detail for the objective of transparency.
But if the public has more, if the audit is not providing enough information to the public, then what? That's the part I want to understand. How do we do that? Yeah.
side meeting. Okay, again, need a mover, Damon, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. Item number 6. Winnipeg Police Service 2025 second quarter business plan report.
All right, so I'm gonna go over a few of these topics. So I want to speak to downtown, the downtown safety strategy. So the number of foot patrol hours in the downtown foot patrol zone is for Q2 is 4,546. So that reflects this, the unit expanded, the foot patrol unit expanded to 48 members with 4 platoons and 12 members working days and evenings. So we have a good foot patrol presence in the downtown. In Q2, the foot patrol members responded to 530 citizen generated events. 186 of those events occurred in the Osborne Village area, with 2 officers being permanently assigned to that patrol area. This is, getting a bit into the next quarter, but there has been, there is something in my chief's report on the Osborne Village Violent Crime Reduction Project, which is has been going on for some time now. So there's 777 occurrences that we've responded to in regards to that project, 146 arrests. And some of these arrests, I just want to highlight, there are 12 robberies, 8 possessed weapon charges, 11 breaches of release, 18 thefts, and 2 assault POs. Those are just a sampling of the arrests, the types of arrests that have occurred there with our presence. And there's been 146 traffic offense notices issued, as well, a lot for distracted driving. So the project has been extremely well received by the community. There was that article, I believe, in the paper today or yesterday at some point. In any event, it's been very well received by the businesses in the community. So as far as further to the downtown safety, we currently are continuing to work with DCSP. We're looking at integrating our CAD systems so that we can divert calls to them electronically and just efficiency. So that's currently in the process of doing that. Fire already does that, so we're looking to partner in the same manner. I've been appointed to the DCSP board as an ex officio board member. I attended my first meeting yesterday, I believe, or the day before. And again, I'm going to be very involved with the DCSP and collaborating with that organization. So I think if is there any questions on that, because I'll move on to the next piece I want to speak to.
Board members, any questions? Okay. Yeah, I need a motion to accept for information. Colleen, all those in favor? All those carried.
The chief is done with the report. You just want to
Oh,
go
no.
to the next thing we're gonna do.
Oh,
is this
so
one.
I need a motion to rescind.
So I'm going to move on to the next topic. I'm only going to have two more.
Fine, I'll be patient.
I'll need a motion to rescind. Colleen?
Yes.
So Mark, all those in favor? Okay, please proceed.
Okay. I just wanted to highlight the work, and again, this is the integrated unit, the Manitoba Integrated Violent Offender Apprehension Unit. And I think it'll speak to some of the things that we're dealing with as far as bail and those types of questions. This unit, since its inception now, I think it was May 23, has had 827 arrests. So, and these are the most violent offenders that are in the community. And the percentage of the offenders apprehended by this unit, 686 or 83% were on some type of release, bail, reconnaissance, parole, those types of things. So that's quite a high number. That's 83% of those individuals. And then 148 of those were repeat offenders that the unit had previously already arrested. So that's 18%. So again, great work there. In this last quarter, 8 of the arrests were for murder charges that were arrested by this unit. So again, a lot of work there. It's a collaborative effort with the RCMP and us. And again, these are the violent people that are in our community, and at times, as we can see, reoffending. So there's been good work done in that respect.
Those numbers are startling, but paint a picture in terms of the need for bail reform in this country, because it's a small group of individuals that are perpetrating the majority of violent crime in our city.
And just to add to that, so our general patrol, all our members, so our 4 different districts, we track what type of arrests what are we spending our time on, and the number one is breaches. So that takes so that's occurring over and over and over. So that's taking up a lot of police resources, rearresting people who are already on bail conditions. If there's no further questions on that, it will. I just want to mention, workplace safety and wellness, because that again was depicted in the video that we presented today. So we remain committed to our members' wellness and mental health. We have a new joint committee in support of the WPS care culture. Compassionate, accountable, respectful, and engaged. This was created in Q2. The committee is made up of members representing various areas of the WPS who are committed to fostering connection and mutual support through shared interests. The committee focuses on engaging the membership by supporting new initiatives and creating meaningful opportunities for connection and collaboration. So looking ahead, I believe we've hired a second mental health clinician. The first clinician that we hired was a resounding success. Her services, she's been overwhelmed really with the number of members that are seeking her help. So we've hired a second clinician to help our members with their any types of behavioral health needs. So that's been very very promising for us. And also our talent acquisition unit has been very active. Myself, though, as well as them, attended the Manitowoc Festival, where members engaged with Indigenous youth and to cultivate their interest in law enforcement and opportunity. And I am hoping that we will extend this, getting up into the communities and the northern communities to help generate interest in, say, for Indigenous youth or adults who are interested in that. So that's something that we're going to be working on for. I think I'll stop there unless there's any other questions for my report.
Board members, any questions? Go ahead, David.
So on the overall strategy or plan, we're going to call it to engage community groups to support the work of the service. So in relation to your different partners, so in particular the Downtown Community Safety Patrol, does the service have a representative on that on their board?
The downtown, I don't believe so. No.
But you have regular engagement?
We engage, I'll be engaging through DCSB board, but we do have engagement, but we're not on the board. If that's what you're asking.
So it wasn't that long ago that they announced an increase in funding to the and they've been, consistently finding ways to improve how they do what they do. And newer initiatives. Do you know if there's been an evaluation of the Downtown Community Safety Patrol at all?
I don't know. I know you were recently at a meeting, I believe, the downtown is, I guess. So I couldn't answer that. I'd have to get back to you on that.
The reason I'm asking is because going forward, again, in our efforts, I think, so this engagement ongoing and other engagement to come with the Indigenous organizations and leaders, and some, I guess, overall outcome of all of that in terms of a new strategic plan. And then in behind that is answering the question, really, what is the Winnipeg Police Service doing now? And what of those things could be better done by community or better led by community? And one of the possible examples of that is the new Toronto Community Crisis Approach team and the elements of that, which include an Indigenous specific organization covering the whole city of Toronto and a huge focus on mental health, right? So again, our interest as Indigenous leaders in community signal I'm getting is, in these engagement sessions, hopefully the service and the board can draw specific recommendations coming from the Indigenous communities as a whole as to how we can better address these bigger issues confronting our city, and working more collaboratively and stronger partnerships, ongoing engagement with Indigenous leaders in community, and of course, the hiring is the first step in that direction.
I think that's just an answer. That is the direction we're heading. So the DCSP, with transferring those call types to them, that's getting it back into the community instead of the police responding. So that's the beginning. I'd like to see that expand to say 311, and then we have those different agencies that are this appropriate response to the need of the individual that we're trying to serve. And it isn't us. That's a community entity or DCSP or Aboriginal Health and Wellness. That's the goal. It is to, for us not to be responding to a lot of these issues that aren't police related. But again, we've got here over the years because of different facilities closing and more, people with mental health not getting help, that the police have been called on, and we recognize that we want to give that to the appropriate, response and, health. Or, the different agencies that can, homelessness, those types of things. That's not a police matter, right? So that's what we're working towards.
One last quick question, is there still ongoing, David, or work with the Bear Clan?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, we work with the Bear Clan. We share their information with missing persons. And they're been a great asset because they're able to go into places where we're not going into and find people that are missing. So we work with them. We've met with a number of Aboriginal groups, Red Dress. We've to our center to see how we can collaborate with the Dress Initiative. So definitely these things we're working on them. And Sheila will definitely be a great asset to a lot of these initiatives. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a comment and that I'm really happy to hear that we're moving. There's some work being done to move from police not responding to the mental health crisis and supporting the healthcare system to do that and only be called when, need to be called to assist. That is, I believe, like a game changer for Winnipeg and for the people who are struggling that really need that first responder to be the person they need to help them through what they're experiencing. And so I'm really happy. Good job.
Just one follow-up question. I know you talked about the ongoing work in the Osborne Village area. I've received calls or concerns coming from the West Broadway and Sargent Avenue biz zone. I'm wondering if there's any ongoing work there in terms of strategy to combat retail crime.
Most definitely. There's some changes coming to the service as far as how we're responding to the different communities. But they are part of the patrol area. So early on, we put extra resources in there. We'll continue to look at, based on data, issues that need to be addressed in those areas. We're currently in a reorg, but there'd be something further coming where we'll be able to be flexible in where we respond to issues in a community that are on. Place some resources in there to stabilize it.
So are there any other comments, board members, questions? Okay, we'll move now to accept this as information.
Love to.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. On to business item number 7. Winnipeg Police Service 2025 second quarter financial report.
Our acting director of finance, Carrie Kreitz, is obliged us to present to you today, and thank you.
Good morning. This morning I have the Q2 financial update. The service is expecting to have a mill rate shortfall of $2 million, at which is wholly attributed to a shortfall on the $5 million expenditure management target. At the end of Q2, the service is expecting to achieve about 60% of the expenditure management target by way of the following: salary and benefit savings, primarily due to the timing of professional staff hires, fuel and carbon tax savings, and additional unbudgeted revenue. Further details on the shortfall are available within the body of the report, and this concludes my update.
Okay, any questions, board members? With respect to the report, I know I just want to confirm the pension valuation. Would that be later on this year, or is it 2026 that it will occur?
Valuation will be completed after December 31, but we won't have the results of that probably until the summertime.
July.
We usually get it 6 months or so later, but it's a valuation up to December 31, 2025.
So then we hold our breath till
right,
that time.
of what the impact will be on the 2026 budget and going forward.
It's noted as a risk.
Sorry?
It's noted in our
Yeah.
submission as a risk.
And that's why I raised it here this morning. Any other questions, board members? Anything further? I need a motion to accept this, to move it on to, finance and economic development. Thank you, Daphne. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. On to number 8, Winnipeg Police Board 2024 Summary of Expenses.
Similar to item 5 on the agenda, this is an audit of the board's expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, compared to year end of 2023.
Thank you. Any questions, board members? Again, I know we've had some robust discussion about trying to massage this budget to allow us greater capacity for community involvement and engagement. And those discussions are ongoing. I'll need a motion to accept this, to move forward to finance. Amit, all those in favor, opposed, carried. On to item 9, Winnipeg Police Board Annual Report 2024.
So this is the board's report for 2024. The board is required annually to report on progress made towards achieving strategic objectives, highlights of activities that the board undertook for the previous year, a breakdown of police service spending, a reporting of the number of police board meetings held, and an attachment of the minutes of the formal meetings held last year. So those things are available within the body of the report. I'll mention very quickly some highlights. The 4 required public meetings held quarterly last year, 37 committee meetings and consultations, and 4 formal training sessions were held for board members. Total remuneration paid out to board members was just over $19,000. The audited financial statement showing the expenses for the services attached to fulfill the financial requirement, and then service through the business plans provided statistical measures in response to the strategic objectives and goals that were set out in the previous strategic plan.
Questions, board members? Comments? Seeing none, I need a motion to accept. Damon, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. On to item 10, Winnipeg Police Board 2025 Quarterly Budget Update.
$215,719 expended through the board's budget through Q2. A large deal of that is the usual headings of salaries and office rent, greater expenses this year with respect to community engagement through the strategic planning process in terms of arranging facilities and accommodations for that, as well as some expenses for the board chair and myself to attend that conference we discussed earlier. It's a tight budget and a regular year, and we are expecting to come in tightly on track.
Any questions, board members? Comments? Need a motion to accept, move to finance. Colleen, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. And our final item, Winnipeg Police Board 2026 schedule of meetings.
Again, a requirement before the end of the current calendar year to publish the dates of these quarterly public meetings to be held for 2026. So they are scheduled for March 6, June 5, September 11, and December 4 of next year here at City Hall.
All right. Any questions, comments, board members? Seeing none, need a motion to accept. Daphne, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Need a motion to adjourn. Daphne, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. I just want to wish everybody a great weekend and thank you for your attendance here today. We stand adjourned. Thank you.